Are you kidding me? I mean, seriously, Wes White, are you kidding me?
You know, we have the opportunity to talk to so many incredible people, but when we get to have a friend on, you
Exactly.
know, it doesn't get any better, and this guest doesn't get any better.
No better. That's
No
yeah.
better.
And the fact that the fact that whether it's on a post or wherever it is, or the opportunity, which we'll talk about very shortly, of getting with him and his lovely wife together in California, personally, or just talking off camera here, the fact that we 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 use the term friends with each other is yeah, it's pretty damn cool. That's all. It's just good
Yeah,
stuff. That's it.
it doesn't get any cooler. But you know, we are doing a, little rack and stack today, and being able to have, you know, I'll just go ahead and say who it is. That's Ben Gay the third, the one and the only. And yeah, you know, it's just it makes it that much sweeter.
It
So
does. So again, as we always say, you and I will get together soon. So let's just go bring Ben on. He's
let's just bring Ben on.
well, it is because I feel like we got to up our show a little bit here as we kind of go past the 200 episode thing. I think we might want to update the green room just a little bit. I mean, we got like nothing in there now, and maybe some grapes and peanuts and a Cabernet or something would be good.
Yeah.
What do you think? I don't know. We'll do something. Let's just go get Ben.
All right.
All right. Ben, wake up! Wake up!
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I was just reading this autographed book from this guy named Ben Gay the third. You know him?
I do know him.
Hey, he's all right, I think, right? Oh, it's good to see you, my friend. Thank you
Good to see
again.
you.
I thought it was number 6, but it's number 5, so we'll just do a number 6 next year. But um, there it is, the closers.
There it
The
is.
the 9 billion copy selling. If you don't read it, you don't belong in sales book, right? And
That's my favorite when somebody says, I've never heard of the closers. I said, how long have you been in selling, not counting this morning?
good point. And Ben, I love one of the things I love the most about your cover is the warning. Most books don't come with a warning. And I'm just going to read it for everybody, for the one goofy person that's in sales that hasn't heard of this book. It says, warning, this material is not for the beginner or the novice. It is specifically intended for the sales professional only. I love it. I love that. And you know what? Because it's spot on. I've read your books. I've read your books. When we first met, I told you I read your books back, I don't know, close to 1,000,000 years ago or something. And it was great then. And but you're right. I mean, I'm not saying a new person wouldn't gain something from it, but boy, you better be serious about being in the world of sales, because you bring the fire, my friend.
Well, in the closers part 1 especially. Part 2 is for me my favorite book of the whole series thus far. But it was written where I didn't have to cover all the stuff in part 1 again. In other words, that was like kindergarten to high school. And so closers 2, I could assume you knew a little bit,
Right.
and go from there. But part 1, the reason for that warning, and it's on both books. I think it may be on
I
some
think
of
it
the
is. I was looking. Yeah, it's on 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Well,
But
this one, number 2 says, Randy, you're wrong. Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
the reason for the warning is when the closers, it used to just be called the closers. Now it's the closers part 1. When we first started shipping it, we got some calls back from people who were shocked and offended. One guy said, I got so much out of it, but when I started reading it, I got up and shut my office door. I didn't think I should be caught reading it.
Mm.
And, I think we lifted one of his lines. It gave me an unfair advantage. And no one's ever said that about how you deal with different ethnic backgrounds and so on. So somebody, I I don't think it was me, but somebody on our team said, why don't we put a warning on the book and cut down on that? Well, sure enough, as soon as we started shipping it with a warning, we didn't get all the shocked responses. And the shocked responses were really compliments. It was just, I can't believe that someone put that in a book.
Yeah.
Because, it's sort of the unspoken. But that's what we tried to do, was not hold anything back. Between we're up to the closers part 5 now, and I haven't withheld anything. It's not like I have some secret that'll be in book 10. Mm-hmm. There's different ways of explaining things, but basically we let it all hang out there. This is the way selling really is, whether you like it or not. Was this way before you got here, will be this way long after you're gone. So we might as well tell you.
Exactly. Well, I love that. I love the honesty and the way you just get right into the weeds and just tell it the way it is. And as you know, a guy that loves the whole concept of selling and marketing that I do, I love the marketing aspect of that, because by putting that warning, I mean that adds even as if Ben Day III needs more gravitas, but it does add this extra allure of, wow, what am I getting here? I mean, if there's a warning, I better be a little careful. But I think I need to read it at the same time, because that almost sounds dangerous. So it's almost like, I something you don't want to do, and it's like when you're a kid, right? And the last thing you want to do as a parent of a younger kid is say, you will not do this. Because if you're like me, or you just, yes, I will.
Yeah.
Right.
And within the hour. I'll do it.
Maybe right in front of you, just to show you. I've done that a few times. And that was one of the first times that I learned a lesson about sometimes the very mild, soft-spoken, meek people can also carry a big stick. They just don't use it often. My dad was one of those. And I learned so much about sales and just building relationships from my dad. As a matter of fact, my book that I'm trying to get finished, I'm just too busy selling, but I do need to get it finished. But I talk about what I learned from my dad early in the bean fields and in the corn fields and taking care of customers when they needed seed corn. But all I remember is he was the most soft-spoken, calm, a sales guy or person, as far as that. But the 1 or 2 times, or 10 or 15 or 20, that I crossed him in a bad way, and it had to be pretty bad. It wasn't like I forgot to take my, as we call them, galoshes. So most younger folks wouldn't understand that's a boot, right? But we call them galoshes. 4-buckle Arctics we used to have, 4-buckle Arctic galoshes. But anyway, I didn't get in that much trouble for forgetting to take them off and walk in the store, right, or the house. But I would get the wrath of like, did you just shoot out 5 of the pig house windows with your BB gun?
Yeah, that I can see why you might be upset about that.
Why do you ask, Dad? And I look up to the window, and the way the farm was set up, I saw my mom stand with her hands on her hips, looking out, and I look at myself with the BB gun in my hand, and I look at I was smart enough at like 7 or 9, or what I was, to do the geometry.
Yep.
And okay, her eyes can see me and can see the windows. I'm dead. I found that was one of the first lessons, Ben, of sometimes you got to throw yourself on the sword.
Yeah. You're already on the sword.
I'm already on it. I'm just going to admit I'm on
acknowledge
it. Acknowledge it. Yeah, I did, Dad. And then that wasn't good enough, though. There was no apology that was going to be good enough for that one. So long story, I had nothing to do with anything, but I remember being in the basement, and we had one of those great big old coal burning furnaces. It reminds me a little bit of what that Christmas Story is, it where they got the big furnace that was always chugging and stuff in the basement. I think, wasn't it the Christmas Story or whatever?
Probably.
The dad always had to go down and do it. Anyway, that thing was this great big thing. I took off and ended up in the basement, low ceiling, barely could walk, right? And we call them a Michigan basement. It did have a concrete floor, but barely. And all I remember is he said, "Randy, you come over here." I'm not going to, Dad. I'm on the other side of the furnace, and it was so comical. I think about it now. He would go 3 steps this way. I'm 3 steps the other way. And my mom come down, Ben, and she goes, "Rand, come take your punishment, because every second now that you wait is going to get, and she used this big word that I had no idea what it meant, but I got the drift. It's going to be extrapolated by 10. All I know is by 10 and I'm already in big trouble, I think I better come out. And so, yeah, that was one of those funny lessons back in the day. So I'm not sure. I always felt like I'm an integrity-driven kind of guy. At 9, if I would have figured out that they would not have seen me, I think I still would have stood my ground and said, I don't know who did it. Somebody else did.
Yeah, you lie.
Yeah. I'm a kid. I lied. Why is a BB gun in your hand and an empty little case of BBs? No idea, Dad. That's funny, isn't it? Huh? Wonder how that happened.
Funny.
But anyway, so we did something really fun. You, I, Wes, and Carson, and your lovely wife Gigi. What are we up? 6 weeks ago now? Maybe it's been 5-6 weeks. There it is. Look at that.
Yeah, there we go.
Look at us.
It's been a while.
In Sacramento, West Sacramento, to be brutally geographically honest. And yeah, look at us, man. What a fine looking group right there. If that's not a trio, I don't know what a trio is. Anyway, Ben, I will publicly here thank you for coming over and spending a couple days with us, 3 days, whatever, 2.5 days. Had some dinner, had some laughs, told some stories, probably made up a few even. Great time. So thank you for that. I know Ben and Carson loved it, and hopefully Gigi didn't go on the ride home that evening. Ben, what do you even acknowledge these bunch of yahoos for?
She was just glad I didn't fall over. As you may recall, Gigi and I had recovered from COVID, but our energy hadn't come back yet.
Right.
So I'm glad that we didn't offend you or fall asleep or something, because I was on the raggedy edge of not being able to function. And then as we were heading out the door to come visit with you, our driver had appeared. Gigi said, "You're not going to wear those shoes, are you?" And I have a pair of black leather shoes that I wear all, they're my knocker. They'd be tennis shoes.
Okay. Yep.
But they happen to be black and leather and beat up. And I said, well, they're friends. What difference does it make? No. So I went back in and got a pair of dress shoes that I hadn't worn in years. It had the shoehorn in it, pushing it out so they weren't shriveled up, and put those on. And as we walked into the hotel, I realized what a mistake that was. My feet were killing me. I mean, absolutely killing. They've since gone to Goodwill. That pair.
Okay, good. Yeah, I understand. I went the other day, and I feel like I, after all these years, dressed myself reasonably okay. Can go between business attire, business casual to casual. But every once in a while, the other day I threw some shorts on. We're back in Florida. And a polo to go out, which is typical go out for everything in Florida. Southern Florida, you just wear shorts all the time. Yeah. Unless today I have jeans on because it's like cold. It's like 70. So I know. It's like
if you need to blow on your hands while we're talking occasionally.
I'm rubbing them down here. I just, yeah. It's, I got a heater going under my desk. but you know those words, since you're going to wear that? Yeah. Apparently not. I'm guessing no.
That's when you just turn around and head back to the closet. Because the conversation doesn't get better after that.
No. It's just a matter now of is it going to be 2 or 3 more? How about these?
Yeah.
How about these? You pick them. Yeah. So apparently my fashion statement modus of operandi was off that day a bit, I guess. And what I really don't want to admit, Ben, is I looked at them later. She was not wrong. They didn't look very good. But, you do what you do.
A homeless guy on Main Street said to me one day, I was standing outside some gift shop or something waiting for Gigi. I'd been parked on the street. And he chatted for a few minutes. I might have given him some money. I really don't recall. But he was obviously homeless. And as he walked away, he patted me on the shoulder. He said, hang in there, bud. I'm homeless too. And I thought, maybe I need to upgrade my in-town casual apparel.
Maybe. That might be. That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. That's that. Yeah, that might be an indicator of, okay, there's maybe a little something wrong here. I mean, we don't need to be in a tux to go out, but maybe I'm a little off here. Oh, so but back to, man, when we was at kind of not really your hometown, but not far away in Sacramento or old Sacramento. I had never been to Sacramento before ever, and man, that old Sacramento area, it was pretty darn nice. I like that little part of town, the old Gold Rush.
And it's not, people say, that was really neat the way they built it. They didn't build it. It was there. I mean, somebody built it gradually, but it wasn't a theme park. What they did was they didn't destroy it, and they didn't let new things come in. Mm-hmm. And so there is that little area. It reminds me of the French Quarter in New Orleans.
Right.
Disney couldn't have built that. It just happened.
It just happened, yeah. And you're right. I had no idea. And so we at the hotel, as you know, we stayed there together, literally right down the street. And so I got in early, wanted to get a walk in, and so I walked down into that area, right? And I just like, this is just cool. Yeah. This is really. I took a whole bunch of pictures that nobody cared about, but I took them anyway. I sometimes post a whole composite thing of 10 pictures when I travel someplace that like 7 people go, oh, yeah, that's cool, and nobody else cares. But it was really cool. So we had a great time, and we got to do, you and I and Wes, and Wes's incredibly talented, great daughter, Carson. And of course, your wife, Gigi, was there. And man, we just recorded some great stuff, sitting in the room, chatting for a couple of different days. And I just want to tell you on behalf of all of us that we appreciated that time together, because the lessons, we've got to know each other pretty well over the last couple of years or whatever it's been. But the one thing I'll tell anybody that I talk to about Ben Gay III is every single time I'm with you or talk to you or we do a back and forth in any shape or form, there's always like 10 more wow that I get out of it. And that was 2.5 days of just wow. So thank you for that. We appreciate
bless you. It was our honor. And again, I apologize if I look like I've been rode hard and put away wet, as we used to say in the horse business.
I'm just glad you were a little bit, because I'm going to be in the presence of the great Ben Gay III. I mean, I was no way I was going to compete. So you gave me one slight little 2% edge there, so I appreciate that. But so let's chat about the world of Ben Gay. And I know everybody, if they don't, they should know the story. Here's what I'd like to do. I want to be cognizant of your time today. What's the top 3 to 5 things? And I know I didn't tell you this because I don't need to. If I needed to tell you this, then you wouldn't be the pro you are. What are the top 3 to 5 things that you've experienced in your life of the world of sales or sales oriented that's probably the most important for a younger or youngish person, and not age wise, but just in the world of sales? What can I know you got like 800 books on it, but give us the top 3 to 5. If you got to know anything from Ben Gay III, you got to know this. Fair question?
Yes. Sell a quality product or service starting out. Selling is hard enough anyway without selling. The example I used to use, nobody remembers it anymore, was the car called a Yugo, made in Yugoslavia, the world's most inexpensive car for a reason. It was a piece of junk with 4 wheels under it. And one day in a car meeting, automobile folks from many different brands and dealerships and so on, a group from Yugo said, we sell Yugos. How do we do more of that? And I said, well, get a gun and take people in the closing room and tell them if they don't buy the car, you'll kill their children. And
that's pretty bad.
Beyond that, they said, well, we mean a technique. Everybody laughed, well, we mean a technique. I said, I don't know a technique to sell a piece of junk. No, and if I did, I wouldn't tell you. It's that old thing, he could sell snow to Eskimos. I could, but I won't. Right. That's the difference. So get a quality product or service, preferably the best. But when you get up near the top, you get down to very finite differences. So just make it easy on yourself. Learn how to sell. It's not, as Willie Loman thought in Death of a Salesman, it's not a smile and a shine shoes. It's a skill, just like learning how to be a heart surgeon is a skill. I wouldn't want somebody operating on my heart that hadn't gone to medical school and then specialized and so on. Selling is the same way. I want to know what you know, how long you've been here. If I don't have to do it anymore because I have what I call vice presidents, vice president of automobiles, vice president of keeping the lawn, vice president. I delegate things out to the vice presidents. But if I had to walk into a car dealership cold today, first of all, I would do some preemptive work. I might even call and say that I'm writing an article and I want to talk to your top person. Who's that? How long have they been there? And let's say it's Bob Smith. When I walk into the dealership, I want to talk to Bob Smith. Of course, I've already called, so Bob is waiting for me to come in. But I don't want to deal with an amateur or rookie who's going to practice on me. The other day, we upgraded our AT&T phones. Looking back, that may have been a mistake in and of itself, but I've been with AT&T since I was a small child with Southern Bell in Atlanta.
Southern Bell.
So under all their various name changes and so on, it's been AT&T most of my life, and old habits are hard to break. So we went in. I know where the thing is, the retail store. Just walked in and hoped I would see somebody I knew. I didn't. And we got the new kid.
Yeah.
Well-meaning, nice guy, but it took an hour and a half to buy 2 phones. And one of them isn't cranked up yet. It's still sitting in the car because I can't get excited about going over to get it dialed in and the SIM card removed and all that, because I'll have to deal with him again. Because he was practicing on us. The manager, who was also inept, but he was more ept than our guy, had to come over 4 or 5 times, and we're talking about 2 phones. Surely to God, we weren't the first person he'd ever sold a phone to.
You would think
And
not.
so it was my fault. As I told him, he said, I feel like I'm holding you up. Or I said, you are. But that's my fault because I didn't qualify you to start with. And I'm not going to get up and walk away from you and get a bad mark in your file. So we're going to go through this together for the last time. Oh, and he said, I'll give you better service in the future. I said, you're not going to have that opportunity. We're done. So back to your question, if I had to advise somebody, and a young salesperson can be 60 years old,
Right.
and has never sold before or hasn't sold at this level or what have you. So young could be 18 to 60 or 70 or whatever.
Right.
To them, quality product, and then treat this as the profession, capital P, it is, and learn how to do it. It's not magical or mystical or anything. One of the things most of us who are in sales training have to do is figure out a way to take an hour of material and stretch it into a full day or 2 days. Because if you really listened to what I had to say and maybe made mental or written notes and asked a question or two, everything I know about selling, I could explain to you in an hour.
Sure.
Probably less. But because it won't sink in the first time, we have to go through it and question you and make sure you picked up on that and so on. Then stay on top of your game. Don't become a seminar junkie. Those are I can spot those in a seminar I walk in the back of the room, from the back of their heads. I know who the seminar junkies are. They go to seminars instead of making sales calls. Don't become one of those, but be in touch with what's going on. And when you're there, make contacts. One of the reasons I love live seminars, Zoom has spoiled me somewhat. I also like not traveling as much. I used to give 300 talks a year. That includes holidays and all. One time I gave 33 talks in 33 different cities in 11 days.
Whoa.
And
that's almost hustling.
Yeah, it almost is.
Yes.
I really don't want to go back to that again. However, I always learn more meeting people in the room than I teach from the stage. It's one of the reasons they got to pay for a full day no matter how long they use me. But let's say they only want me for a keynote address or something. I said, that's fine. I'll come in the night before. I'll be the first person in the room. The janitor and I will unlock the meeting room, and I'll be the last person out. The way I know when a sales meeting is over or sales seminar is over, I hear the vacuum cleaner running. It's like it used to be when I was young and in a bar. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
The lights would come up, the vacuum cleaner would come on. That was in case I didn't hear last call.
Right. You know, an indicator I always got with that, Ben, is when every stool is put upside on the tables and everything's mopped, and it's like the only stool left is the one I'm sitting on, right?
Right.
Oh, we're done now? Close?
Excuse me.
My bad.
But I love meeting people and spending time with them and getting to know them and making friendships and so on. It's a little late in my life to say, you know, you and I and Wes will be working, Carson will be working together for the next 50 years. But if I'd met you back in those early days, I could have said that and we wouldn't be at the end of it yet. Mm-hmm. I was doing a seminar one time for somebody, and a gentleman named Richard Burns was there, dear friend of mine now. And I said, one of the reasons I like to do seminars is, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'll meet, and I said, someone in this room will be a dear friend of mine 20, 25, 30 years from now. So I'm looking forward to figuring out who that is and so on. So when we got to a break, he came running up. I hadn't met him yet. And he said, my name's Richard Burns, and I'm that guy. And I said, what guy? By that time, I'd moved on mentally. He said, I'm your new best friend. And sure enough, he's become among my very dearest friends because I was doing a seminar. He was there, and I can name 3 or 4 other people that were in that room. So a guy wrote to me the other day, I think on some sort of email thing where probably on some other subject. And there was one of my favorite sentences typed out, but I hear it frequently. You may not remember me, but, and then he said, he went on to say that he was down in his sales career, about ready to drop out and so on. And could he spend some time with me? And I said, yeah, if we do it right now, they're paying for this time. So yes, or you can be a mentoring client, and that has a different pay grade. He said, let's do it now. Let's do it now.
No,
so he told me what he was experiencing. I said, well, I got good news for you. I know the problem and I know the solution. He said, what is it? And I said, the problem is you and the solution is you. Yep. And he said, you must have said that 1,000 times in your life. That's light. I've said it more than that. But he said, for me, that was exactly what I needed to hear, because I was the problem. And with the stuff I picked up from things I've read and what you taught in the seminar that day, I was the solution. And I went on from that day of down and out and ready to quit to become president of the company.
Wow.
So that's the joy. I get to meet interesting people and I get to watch them blossom. Yep. And a lot of my blossom, and I didn't know about it because I've shaken the hands of 2.5 million people, I figure, in 5,000 paid engagements, not counting the 5,000 or 10,000 I've given for free in prisons and churches and schools and so on. So I've met a lot of people, right. And I hope a lot of them benefited. Every time I sign a book, like yours are signed, is I sign a book and they're getting ready to ship it, I put my hands on it and I say a little quick prayer. The gist of it changes from time to time. Jesus gets tired of hearing from me. But basically the prayer is, Lord, please put this in the hands of an honest person who will use these techniques to their advantage and the customer's advantage. And so I send them off with that blessing. Even had a guy call one time, and having heard that story, he said, I'm an atheist. Would you mind not praying over your mine? And I said, well, when you order, put that note in the thing. And if I see the note, I won't pray over yours. Wow. So I feel bad because I'm a Christian and I lied to him because I prayed over his. Figure he needed it more than most.
Yeah, he just didn't know it yet, but yeah, that's
and
funny.
Then remember, just finishing up on that, remember to meet interesting people, not just the ones that wander up and want you to sign a book or something. Really interesting people. I've sat in Charlie Manson's cell at San Quentin for a total of 9 hours over 3 visits. One of my dearest friends in the world was Sally Stanford, the Madam of San Francisco. By the time I knew her, she owned a restaurant in Sausalito, California, but she came with all her stories. The United Nations was formed to a large degree in the parlor of her house of ill repute in 1948 in San Francisco, because the movers and the shakers want to go have a drink and smoke a cigar and maybe meet some people. So they would come to Sally's. So I've sat with Sally and heard who was there, what they were talking about, the humps they had to get over to form the United Nations and so on. Looking back, maybe they didn't do the job they should have, but the intentions were good. So Sally, I was attitude coach for the astronauts, Apollo 15, 16, 17. That took some plotting and scheming. It looked casual. They thought it was their idea. But I was at that party in a friend's house to meet astronauts. I've shaken the hands of all 12 men who've walked on the moon.
Wow.
And for some of you listening who don't believe they walked on the moon, you're nuts.
Yeah.
They walked on the moon.
Yes.
I met them. I knew them. So you look for people like that. I always want to meet the top salesperson. I want to meet the head, the mover, the shaker, and so on. And I can be influential in helping some of them, but mainly I'm helping myself. It's just because it adds to the story bank. You know, when somebody says blah, 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 I got a problem. I said, well, you know, that reminds me of what Og Mandino went through. He was a dear friend of mine. That reminds me of what Napoleon Hill told me because of this. Embarrassing situations. You think you've been embarrassed. Let me tell you some Earl Nightingale stories, because Earl was a friend of mine, and so on. So it gives you a backlog. It gives you a confidence level. A client of mine said the other day in his monthly meeting, he said, I got one more question today. And I said, and this is going to sound like I'm patting myself on the back, but I'm not. It was just, I'm telling you what he said. He said, how do you develop that air of confidence? He said, you're not arrogant, but when you tell me to do something, I never question. I just write it down and go do it. I said, what do you do when you go to a doctor? What does he do? I said, think it through. He says, well, he asked me I tell him why I'm there. And then he asks me some questions. And then after a while, he writes a prescription. And I said, what do you do? I go to the drugstore and get it filled. And then what do? I start taking it like he told me. I'm the physician in your sales world. I don't know much about anything. I'm a high school graduate, but in this one little area called selling, and in this one little area called personal development, I'm the resident expert. Yep. That gives me confidence. You want to see my confidence fade away, start talking about neurophysics, if that's the word.
It works for me.
Yeah, I don't even know if there is neurophysics.
I wouldn't be able to spell it.
I assure you I know nothing about it.
Yep. So, well, that, exactly, in that confidence, because I think anybody, whatever you're selling, they want to deal with a pro, right? They want to deal with somebody, like, as you said earlier, that they're confident in, that they trust, and that they're coming to them with an air of integrity. And the only way you do that is to be prepared and to know your stuff and to come across as confident, like you said, not arrogant, but confident. Because like you said with the guy, you could tell when you walked in, this cell phone thing was not going to go well. Nobody wants that experience. They want to feel I'm in good hands with Allstate, as they say, right? I think I can get a couple bucks for mentioning them. We'll try. But I think people do want to be taken care of by their sales pro, and I think that's the difference. And you hit on it all the time. The difference between being a sales professional with a capital P, as you say, versus I'm a sales guy. I sell some stuff. There's a big difference.
Yeah, order taker. I coined a phrase years ago that I think now is taught with initials. KLT. Somebody said, well, that sounds like the KLT course I went to. I said, what's KLT? I've never heard of it. They said, well, people like to deal with people they know, like, and trust. I said, that's mine.
Yep.
and they're teaching a course.
Wow.
They
Yep.
mentioned my name. But anyway, and since then, with the help of Rob Anspetch, who you probably know, Mr. Sarcasm.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's been on the podcast. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
great guy. He doesn't like to be told he's a great guy because he likes to portray himself otherwise, but he really is a great guy. One day in a casual conversation with him, I said, people like to buy from and deal with people they know, like, and trust. And he said, and with whom they feel safe.
Yep.
And I said, consider that stolen. And I stuck it on the back end. And now I have to remember that he taught me that, or helped me develop that. That's who they want to do. So if people want to deal with people they know, like, trust, and with whom they feel safe, new people, become that person. And well, you've known people for 50 years or more. I may not have 50 years. It doesn't take 50 years. I can develop a relationship with people who know, like, trust, and feel safe with me in 5 to 10 minutes. It's not a lifetime thing. That helps.
Right.
It gets stronger. You don't even have to go through the small talk anymore. Just, hi, how are you?
Right.
What's the purpose of today's meeting? And you're right into it. I was asked in front of a group, and then I'll shut up because you got a much longer answer than your question.
No, that's a great answer.
But I was doing a seminar somewhere for somebody, and I opened up to questions and answers, which I love, because that's another thing. New salespeople, let them talk also about what is important to them, because what you learned in the sales training class may not be applicable to them. They may not care about it or whatever. So find out what is applicable to them. But somebody said, what were the 3 most important things you learned from working with Dr. Napoleon Hill? And I thought, Jesus, please don't fail me now. As some famous black comedian used to say when he was in trouble, feats don't fail me now. So I sort of shut my eyes and let my mouth run. And what I heard myself say, and it was absolutely true, was that I needed to work on integrity. That was number 1. And I don't know if it was aimed at just me, but it was justified. I was a little fast and loose with the truth in my 20s. And because I thought you just say whatever it takes to get the sale. So integrity, and then focus. Like many of your viewers and listeners, I'm like the crow. The shiny object goes by, and I'm onto the shiny object. And Dr. Hill, sitting in my office, would frequently, he'd see me look up because something was going on out in the waiting room or whatever. And he'd say, Ben, focus. So integrity in all things, focus, and then the deep, dark secret in the strangest, I started to say the strangest secret, Earl Nightingale's record. This is a 75-year-old copy of Think and Grow Rich, signed by Dr. Napoleon Hill. Nice. And people have spent their lives trying to figure out the deep meaning in Think and Grow Rich. Well, here's if you haven't read it, read it.
Right.
And then read it at least once a year, maybe twice in the beginning, then read it at least once a year. But what he told me, this is from his lips, he wrote Think and Grow Rich as a sales training manual, sales training book, and was frankly surprised that people have spent their careers turning to some deep philosophy. And then I said, well, everybody's looking for the secret in it. What's the secret? And he said, I've told you the secret many times. Take action. So that was integrity, focus, action.
Yep.
If you're the new guy or lady, get involved in that real quick.
And action is so important, isn't it? Like you talked about what did you call them? Seminar heads? Is that what you called them?
Well, yeah, seminar junkie.
The junkies. There you go. Yeah. There's a purpose to prepping and planning and learning and studying and whatever we want to call it. But there's a whole lot of people out there that are, I know some people I went to school with a million years ago that I think they're probably on their 914th degree from college,
Yeah.
but they've never done anything really.
Well, they're doing things. They're getting
Yeah.
degrees.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing. I'm a big believer. I like seminars. I like listening to podcasts and doing a lot of those things to stay sharp, to see if there's something new, or like you said, the same thing said, but in a different way that strikes me differently.
Right.
But like you said, at some point, as a sales guy, I know my products, I know my services, I know my competition, I know where I fall and all that. I know what I'm doing. I just gotta not study any of this anymore and just go make the sales call, shake hands, practice KLT, and just do it, right? You just got to go do it. There's no
Absolutely.
substitution for just doing it. And
Take
so many
action.
people you get paralyzed by fear. And I think there's that fear of no, right? The salespeople all have at different levels. I don't know if you ever get it completely gone, but I think for the most part, I've been doing it long enough that I don't fear no. It's just the next step. If it's no, it's no. I might figure out, did I miss the boat? Is it on me? If I made a mistake, I either want to A, be able to correct it for the future, or B, maybe I could go back and resurrect it and fall on the sword, so to speak, and say, I probably missed something here, and I just want to apologize, Ben. But if there's still any opportunities, but if not, I get it. But if it's no, it's no. You move on and take action with the next deal, right? Learn what you can learn. And I think there's a lot of people that would go, well, I'm not doing that well right now. I keep getting a lot of no's. So I need some more webinars and seminars
Mhm.
and 9 more books and not do anything for the next year while I study to be better. Well, if you just go get 5 more no's and figure out what you're doing wrong, you'll probably start getting to a yes a little bit sooner than going to 15 different seminars, right?
Absolutely. I figure I've made 100,000. One day I've sat down and figured out number of seminars and so on. And it's not an exact figure, but based on a normal day, week, month, year, I worked out some of the figures. And I believe I've given, not counting on the internet or email blasts or something, face to face, 100,000 sales presentations, roughly. And roughly, I can prove it in court if I had to, my closing rate is 86%. That means that 14,000 people have listened to the famous, fantastic Ben Gay sales presentation and said no.
Right. Yeah.
And
exactly.
I spend more time thinking about the 14,000 when they first happened than perhaps I should. But I've learned more from the no's, from the yeses. Oh, and for the new people you want to address, a definite no is far better than a wishy-washy maybe, or I'll think about it. Press them politely and gently to a decision. Whatever, they can come back later and say, I've been thinking about it and I changed my mind and so on. But as far as your attention, where you're going to spend your time and energy, get an answer.
Right.
And I want to think about it, or I'll get back to you next month, is not an answer.
Right.
It's a yes or a no. Tommy Hopkins used to, when he was doing seminars, I think he got it from J. Douglas Edwards, but I'm not sure. I worked with Doug also, and I heard it from Tommy, was some will, some won't. Next.
I like that.
Yeah. And
I like that.
I do have that. I try and learn from the no's, but I just hear so few of them nowadays. And here's the good news. When you get really good, they're going to buy before they know they're going to buy.
There you go.
If I were writing up an order physically, I can, and I do sometimes if we're on the internet or whatever, or even in my lap in their office. When I know they bought, I start writing up the order. They're still saying, well, I've got a few more questions and so on. I felt an atmospheric pressure change. What I always liken is I'm sitting in my office, somebody opens the door behind me. I can feel it. The temperature, the atmospheric pressure in the room changes when they open the door. I feel that exact thing when they decide to buy, even if they don't know.
Yep.
I do, and I start writing up the order mentally, if not physically.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The that's taken the world famous assumptive close to a new level of action, isn't it?
Yeah.
But,
Well, the assumptive close helps cause that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, I
love
spend a
that.
lot of time getting in position. I liken myself to a sniper in a tree, and I've known several snipers, oddly enough, who did it for a profession. And you don't thrash around in the tree; you sit quietly. Blinking is almost a no-no if you're a sniper. Somebody might be looking and catch the
little thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So when I close, I've written 35 books, co-written, heavily edited 35 books on selling, closing, human development. I use one close most of the time, but I have to get in position to expect it to work. And after I've done that, they know, they like, they trust me, they feel confident, they know I'm selling a good quality product, etc. I've flushed out their concerns, their misunderstanding, and so on. When I go to close, I firmly expect them to buy. And my close usually is, Randy, based on what you've told me, here's what I suggest we do. And the we is based on, I'm a sales infiltrator. I've already become part of your team. Right. I'm not the evil salesperson who's come to screw you out of your money. I'm a member of your team trying to solve Randy's problem that has become our mutual problem.
Love it.
Randy, based on what you've told me, here's what I suggest we do. Or Randy, based on what we've talked about. Those are the only two variables in that close. And that close, once I developed it, and the ability to get in position to have the justification to pull the trigger and expect a positive result, that close has an 86% closing rate.
And that, for any of my fellow salespeople out there, is massive. I mean, people don't close at that rate. So that's huge. I mean, great people are probably 60%, and they're great. So, I mean, that
you can get in the Hall of Fame at 50%.
Yeah, that's big stuff. So, last question, because I do want to let you go. I did a post just this morning when that we're talking here. Obviously, it's recorded, but it talked about expect to win, and you just talked about that. Is if you're trained, you're prepared, and you're doing things the right way, you got the right product, quality product, all the stuff's in place. I'm a big Michigan football fan, right? We play Alabama.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I know.
But you'll get over your loss.
Oh, there we go. So, think there's I feel like there's a little quarter or 50-cent bet going to be happening here, I think.
All right.
All right. Well, I'll go all the way to $1. I mean,
all right.
It's been a good month. It's been a good month.
If we go over $1, I have to get Gigi's permission. So
exactly.
We'll do $1.
But I'm going to tell you, right, neither of those teams will show up in Pasadena hoping to win. There will not be a person on that team, coaching staff, training staff, players, bus driver, that doesn't expect to win, right? And that's a big attitude difference, which is why I think when you see the devastation when a team loses, there's a sadness and nobody likes to lose, but it's that I can't believe this, right? Because they fully expected to win. Because if you don't expect to win, then as a good friend of mine and Wes's, Marvin Montgomery, he's done some talks, and I've introduced him at some talks, and we've become really good friends. And I love a statement that he makes sometimes. Y'all got to quit quoting and hoping. He says, y'all just write up a quote, and then you hope they buy. He said, and I love that statement, and he delivers it so well. But final words on that, Ben, and I do want to let you go, but success leaves trails, right? It leaves crumbs. You learn from that, but I think we need to position ourselves right. And I know you've already talked about this, but parting words, you just got to walk into that sales call with the full expectation that I'm going to win. Now, you may not always, and you got to accept that and figure out what happened and move on. But the expectation going in is not, man, I hope I sell something today.
Years ago, I gave a speech. Bob Proctor worked for me at the time, and he turned it into a book. I used to give it regularly. He probably had to sit through it 100 times, called I Am. It didn't have a title when I started, but in the middle of a thing about goals and so on, I will be rich and I will be this and I will be, and it suddenly came to me, why don't we claim it now? I am rich. I am walking like a rich person. I'm talking like a rich person. I'm dressing like a rich person, etc. Much to my embarrassment, I later discovered it came from the Bible. But if I learned that from the Bible, it was subconscious. I thought I could pass a lie detector test that I came up with it. But I am is my attitude about anything I'm trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
I dropped the trying and the hoping and the wishing and said, if I'm really zeroed in on it and care, I am. Now I am making this sale. I am going to make you a friend. I am. So I take the future, claim it now, act as if I have it. And that goes all the way down to sales, friendships, big goals, small goals.
Right.
I own a company today. We own a company today and live in houses that come from I am. I designed the house we're sitting in today. I designed 30 years ago, and then it materialized. I don't mean to be, woo woo and all spooky. I'm just saying that that's the way it happened.
Right.
And I ran the largest woo woo company in the world of its kind at the time, Mind Dynamics, which was the forerunner to Est and the Forum and LifeSpring and SciWorld and all those. They all came from that company, and Werner Erhard and gang were all instructors of ours. So I'm not against woo-woo, but I'm really not talking about that. I really believe action is a big part. I will picture it in my mind and it will happen. Well, yeah, if you get up early, stay late, work on weekends, and remind yourself that's the goal all the time, it will happen. Not because you wished it. Jim Rohn, real quick, Jim Rohn used to tell a wonderful story in his seminars. At some point, he said that they come up to me, and he was talking about the seminar groupies. They come up to me, and they've got Think and Grow Rich under this arm, and How to Win Friends and Influence People under the other arm, Charlie Manson's favorite book, I might add. Got one under each arm, and they're leaping up and down. I am excited, I am excited, I'm excited. And he said, that's good. But at some point, you got to quit leaping up and down and do something.
Love it.
That's the frightening part.
That is good stuff. And that's the fear that people have, is I got to do something. Ben, thank you so much again, as always. And hey, well, let's catch up. I need to come to California again, maybe, just to say hey in person.
Love to have you. Love to have you.
You get to Florida, look me up. I might even find a room for you somewhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you like bed and breakfast rates or what?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. It's cheap. But it's not that bad. They used to call them Motel 6, but there's a little one down the street. They changed the name, and it's not bad. It's all right. No, I'd love to have you anytime. Ben, thank you, my friend, as always.
My pleasure.
All right. Cheers.
Say hello to Wes. I know he's around here somewhere. Yeah. And to Carson. We love you guys.
Well, we love you too, and we appreciate you. Gigi, the best to her as well, please. All right. Cheers. All right. There we go. Almost an hour with the incomparable Ben Gay III. And anybody that knows me knows that I talk about Ben all the time. And all you got to do is watch a show with Ben. I failed to mention it there, but he does a really, really great show. I think it's every week with Denise Griffith, another great, great friend of mine who's just an outstanding lady. Catch those two people, but follow Ben. You absolutely, positively, I recommend it, and you will not go wrong. So anyways, I am going to get out of here. I'm going to tell you this. I live it and love it and own it. That's important to do. Live it, love it, own it. Love what you do and do what you love. I do it every day. I'm doing it right now. And listen, go make today your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Cheers, my friends.